Hey everybody, I'm going to do a recipe tonight that I've been wanting to do some of these recipes, I just haven't. This one's from my friend Trina. Anyone that knows me and has followed my page or knows me personally knows Trina and I worked on a cookbook together. This is her mom's recipe for pound cake. I'm sure you've probably seen this. It's also Paula Dean's on her site in her cookbooks. It's Paula's recipe that she calls Granny Paul's sour cream pound cake. Well, it's her Granny Paul's and it's Trina's mom because Trina is actually Paula's aunt. So if you didn't know that, that's how they're related. That's how I ended up becoming friends with Paula. Trina invited me to her home in Louisiana about a year before she passed away. And we worked on this cookbook. I had more fun in that week. She was just the most amazing, sweet, southern, ornery woman in the world. When I first got there, I actually called back to Michael and I said, I'm not sure where I'm going. This is kind of scary. She lives an hour in Houma, Louisiana. I think it's about an hour south, more than an hour south of New Orleans. It was getting kind of scary and redneck, and as I'm driving further and further and further and not knowing where I'm headed to, I just had her address. I put it in the navigation system and away I went. And it come to find out her house was right at the end of the road, completely surrounded by swamp except for her neighbor. Right on the swamp. Literally saw alligators in the front yard. She teased me, told me to go get the mail. I was like, nope, ain't gonna do it. The time I spent there with her was time I treasure. And we spent many nights with our jelly jars, because that's what she drank. That's what she had to drink out of. Drinking our wine and doing recipes. Testing out different recipes for the cookbook. This is one that she said her mom made. It's a sour cream pound cake. I got everything out actually, except one of the main things in the recipe is the sour cream. So I'll put the recipe ingredients down below in the comment section. You can find it there. You can find it on Paula's website. It's all over the place. In her cookbooks. I think it's in many of her cookbooks. But it's really just, it's 3 cups of sugar, 3 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of baking soda, vanilla, 6 eggs, 2 sticks of butter, and a cup of sour cream. So I'm gonna start with the butter and the sugar, and we're gonna cream that actually. It's a little soft, which is a good thing. Get that creaming together here in the stand mixer. Like I said, I spent about a week there, maybe a couple days more. We went shopping every day, buying food for whatever recipe we were making. Believe it or not, one day we came home and her youngest daughter, Charlie, who lived next door, her friend was going out on his airboat. No, it wasn't an airboat. It was a flat bottom boat that had a humongous motor on the back. I guess he said that chopped through the grass and everything we went through. And they were talking about him going out and doing that. I'm gonna go ahead and cream these together. He was gonna go out and check his deer traps. I didn't think anything of it, but we're on the way home the next day from the grocery store. I mentioned to Trina, I said, so he goes out and checks his deer traps. Are they out in the swamp? What is it? And she goes, oh, no, it's not him going out. You are going out with him. I'm like, I'm not going out in the swamp. So yeah, you are. And she just giggled, and I was like, Trina, that's dangerous. She goes, you should be okay. That didn't make me feel safe. She literally was laughing on her front porch as we walked across the street and got on this little boat. It was probably about that deep of a boat. Probably about 6 feet long, motor on the back. And away we went into the swamps. It was the scariest thing I think I've ever done. I would never do it again. I'm glad I did it. The man pulls up to an island land somewhere to go check his deer trap, the deer stands. Gets his gun and he's like, "You just stay here." And he gets his weed whacker to go. I'm like, "Well, what about? I don't have a gun. I don't, you know." Because you should be okay. I got so tired of hearing "you should be okay" while I was up there. But he went, and I'm just looking around, alligators, snakes, anything could crawl up in this boat. Didn't see any until he was back in boat. We went flying to the next place, literally flying through the brush. There's pictures on my website. I'll put a link to it. And he just stops, dead stops, and reaches down and picks up an alligator, probably about that long, and hands it to me. I was scared to death. I said, where's the mother? And he goes, "Right there." And he looked, and there's this alligator that's longer than the boat right beside. I dropped that thing. I might have screamed like a girl. Like I said, that was one of the scariest things I've ever done. Trina thought it was hilarious. Once I came home, she called me and messaged me on Facebook and just kept teasing me about that. Like I said, we spent a lot of nights working on these recipes. The oven's just now preheated up. It's 325. That's what we're going to cook it for. I think it's an hour and 20 minutes. We need a cup of sour cream. So we creamed the sugar and the butter together so they come together, just come together. And then we're going to add a cup of sour cream. That looks good. And you're going to use the paddle. You're not going to use the whisk attachment. Use the paddle for this. I'm going to bring this together. Yeah, it was about, I'm not sure, a few months later, I was at work and her youngest daughter, Charlie, called me and said, "Mama, I need you to come back." She was in the hospital. She wasn't doing well. And I literally flew to New Orleans and Dion picked me up there, her oldest daughter. And then we drove the rest of the way down to Houma, Louisiana. And when I walked in, I could still hear, I just walked up in the hospital room there. She's laying there and I grabbed her hand. I said, "Hey, I'm here." And she goes, "Well, it's about damn time." It just made me lose it. She was the sweetest, but the most ornery person I know. She told me so many stories about her growing up with Paula. Paula and her were just a couple years apart, so they were like sisters. They grew up together at River Bend. I'm sure you've heard them talk about River Bend. Paula has, and that's where they grew up together. And she told me all the different things, how when they were growing up, things they used to do to each other. Both wanted to be mermaids. They had all kinds of fun. It wasn't like an aunt and a niece. They were like sisters. So let me first go ahead and put this back in. We're going to now start adding actually a teaspoon of vanilla. Put some of that in there. Vanilla mixed up. Okay. And then we're going to, I just scribbled all over the place. We're going to alternate the flour and baking soda with the eggs. We're going to put, and she told me you have to start with the flour and you have to end with the flour. So I'm going to put in a scoop of flour. Do this on low. Let that incorporate. And she said make sure the egg does incorporates real well. There's 6 eggs in here. I already separated them. Pouring them in, they're going to go in together. Not together, they're going to go in individually. Sorry, I can't think. I'm just the time that Trina and I were together, and the reason I thought about this today is because I got a pop-up on my Facebook of a message, a memory that she texted me asking about one of my recipes that we were working on. So that's what made me think about this and decide I was going to make her pound cake recipe, sour cream pound cake recipe that her mom made. Okay, that egg pretty well mixed in. Flour. mixed in yet. There it is. Somebody's talking to me tonight. About the 4th day that I was there, we had been looking for this recipe for I think it was a coconut cake recipe. We searched every cookbook she had. We looked at every paper that she had stuck in cookbooks. We looked through recipe boxes. We looked everywhere. Basically, we finally gave up. She kept telling me how good this cake was, that we needed to make it. And that night, Charlie came over, her daughter, and Trina mentioned to her that we couldn't find this. And he'd still hear her say, well, Mama, you put it on the refrigerator. It's right there on the magnet. We had been in and out of that refrigerator a dozen times. We never saw it. But we did make it. Turned out great. Get these in here. I just don't want to mess this recipe up. Okay. Get the last egg in there. But like I said, when she came home from the hospital, I stayed there a few days. She came from the hospital, and that first night, everybody finally went to bed, all her kids, and they were exhausted. And I sat beside her talking to her, and she woke up a couple times, and she'd fall asleep, and one time she woke up and retched for me, and she goes, go over there on the refrigerator, there's one last recipe that I've been working on that I want you to finish. So I got it, and I came over, and she goes, get us some wine. Get our jelly jars and wine. I told Trina, I don't think you're supposed to have wine. She goes, I already asked the doctor, told him that me and you were gonna have wine. He said it was okay. So we got our wine, and we sat and went over that recipe. And next day I had to leave, and that was the last time I saw Miss Trina. But she was just like Paula, her niece. She was the sweetest, most southern lady, but she was ornery. You know, she's always there in my heart. My Thanksgiving, Christmas recipes, I make some of hers. I got them on my website. You can look at those. But she was an amazing person, and she was Paula's #1 fan. She just worshipped her. We had to watch her show every day when it came on, which I already did. But every day when that came on, we had to watch it. Go through all of her cookbooks. And we literally went through recipe after recipe for our cookbook. And we had to make sure that Paula didn't have it in hers, because, you know, a lot of Paula's family's recipes are Trina's, because Trina's family is her family. So, okay, so we got this all mixed together. Get this cleaned off. I am going to use, I don't have a 2-pan. I'm going to use these I use for all my Key West rum cakes. I'm going to coat this real good because I want it to come out real well. All right. Like I said, we got the oven preheated at 325. It's going to cook for, I think it's 1 hour and 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So get this in here. It's a nice thick batter, which is what you'd expect from a pound cake. Stuff's delicious. You gotta get every bit out of here. You don't want to waste any of it. Now I like to smooth it out a little bit, even it out. I just think it tastes better. It'll be pretty when it comes out. Okay, so this is going to go in the oven for 1 hour and 20 minutes. When it comes out, I'm gonna let it sit for about 30 minutes on a cooling rack, and then I'll flip it out and we'll be back to look at it. Okay, so I've decided to come back real quick. While this is in the oven baking, still has like an hour and 10 minutes, I'm gonna make some homemade whipped cream because I got some fresh strawberries today. Have them in the refrigerator already, and some sugar, making syrup. So nothing better than on a pound cake than strawberries and homemade whipped cream. So all you need is some heavy whipping cream. I've got one small container here. If I can get it open, it's gonna fight me. So I put this in there, and we're just gonna let the mixer have at it. Whether this is going to be whipped cream, you got to watch it, because once it turns into whipped cream, very quickly after that, it's going to pump up and turn into butter. So you got to keep an eye on it. I'm going to put a little powdered sugar in there to give it some flavor, sweetness. About 2 tablespoons. And let's put a little bit of vanilla in there. There we go. Sorry, it's gonna get noisy here. Powdered sugar everywhere. I think we're there. Yes, nice. Oops, got a little bit on the side. That's for me. So now we got our whipped cream for our pound cake. Got strawberries in the refrigerator. This is gonna be a great dessert. I wish Trina was here to share it with me. Okay, so the cake is out of the oven, and I let it cool on a cooling rack for about 30 minutes. And now I'm going to take it out of here. So scary part. Ooh, not much sticking. And then we're gonna let it cool for another, I'd say 30 minutes, 45 minutes, at least an hour. And so then we can cut it and we'll put on the strawberries and whipped cream. So here's Trina's sour cream pound cake. You guys gotta give it a try. I know you'll love it. Talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.